don't hear her. At first, the world is too loud. Cars passing, bugs humming, people laughing. But in the stillest parts of Texas, in the dark pockets of San Antonio, where railroad tracks cut through silence like scars, something else lingers, an old tale, one that parents whisper to scare kids, one that never really left. They say she cries every night, a woman in a long white dress, wandering along the abandoned tracks, her face hidden behind wet black hair, searching for what no one really knows. But once you meet her eyes, you'll understand why no one comes back. 15-year-old Amber Reyes had never believed in ghost stories. She was the kind of girl who rolled her eyes when someone brought up local legends, especially the one her abuela used to tell, the one about La Dama de Blanco, the weeping woman in white who haunted the old railroad south of town. But that night was different. Amber and her two friends, Jessie and Tasha, were out for one last thrill before summer ended. They'd taken Jessie's beat-up Corolla out past the city lights to the forgotten tracks where legend said the woman had died, or where her children had. There was a strange quiet when they arrived. Even the wind didn't move. "Put it in neutral," Tasha said, smirking, handing Amber a jar of baby powder. "Let's see if your car really moves on its own." Amber laughed, but her hand trembled. "This is stupid." She stepped out, powdered the bumper, then climbed back in. They waited. Seconds passed. Nothing. Then the car jolted slightly and slowly, ever so slowly, started to roll uphill. "Okay, what the hell?" Jessie muttered. Amber's heart raced. "We're not on a slope, right?" "Nope." They stepped out, looked at the back bumper, and froze. Fingerprints. Tiny ones, dozens, pressed into the powder. Amber stood motionless, staring at the bumper. "These can't be real," she whispered. But they were too clear, too perfect. The fingers were small, child-sized, like a group of tiny hands had all tried to push the car at once. Then came the wind, not a breeze, not soft, but a gust that howled through the trees like it had a voice. "Did you hear that?" Jessie asked, backing up. No, I don't like this," Tasha said, rubbing her arms. "Let's go. Let's just..." Then Amber turned toward the tracks. She saw her, far down the line, a white figure, motionless, facing away, crying. She looked like a statue, or a dream pulled out of a nightmare. Her dress shimmered in the moonlight, but her body, it didn't move, not even a breath. "Amber," Jessie whispered, "get back in the car." But Amber stepped forward, one step, then two. The woman didn't turn. She just stood there, sobbing, the kind of sob that sounded empty, like someone crying long after the pain had died. And then she vanished, like smoke pulled into the air. The car ride back was silent. Amber clutched her phone, staring at the blurred trees outside the window. Her heart hadn't slowed since they left the tracks. Jessie broke the silence. "What the hell was that?" "You saw her too, right?" Amber asked. "It wasn't just me." Tasha shook her head. "I saw her. She was crying. But then she disappeared." Back at Jessie's house, the trio sat in the garage, trying to convince themselves they'd imagined it. That's when Jessie pulled out his phone and played a voice recording. "I had it on when we stopped the car." They listened. Static wind, then a faint sound, so faint they almost missed it. A woman's voice, barely audible, saying one thing, "Don't let them go." Tasha dropped the phone. "That's not funny." "I'm not joking," Jessie said, pale now. Amber stood. "I'm going back." "What?" Both said at once. "She wasn't trying to hurt us," Amber said. "She was trying to help." "You're insane." Amber's eyes narrowed. "Then dare me not to." The next night, Amber returned, alone. The old railroad crossing was darker than before. No stars, no wind. The trees stood like tall shadows, watching, judging. She parked the car in the same spot. No powder this time. She just sat and waited, and then she heard it. The sobbing. Not far, closer than before. Amber stepped out and followed the sound along the track. Her flashlight flickered, casting long, jittery shadows across the gravel. Then the light froze on something up ahead. The woman. This time she was facing her. Her hair was long and wet, clinging to her pale face. Her eyes were hollow, deep voids where hope had once lived. Her mouth quivered with sorrow, but no words came out, only tears. Amber stepped closer. "Who are you?" The woman lifted a trembling hand and pointed. Behind Amber. Amber turned. No one. When she looked back, the woman was inches away. Her face wasn't crying now. It was empty, expressionless, dead, still, and her mouth slowly opened. But the sound wasn't human. It was metal, screeching, like a train breaking hard on rusted rails. Amber screamed and stumbled back, falling into the gravel. When she looked again, the woman was gone. Amber didn't tell her friends, not yet, but she couldn't stop thinking about what she saw. The woman's face, that horrible screeching. The next night she returned again. This time she came early, just before midnight. She placed a single white flower near the tracks. Her abuela once told her flowers calm spirits. But as she laid it down, she noticed something beneath the tracks. Scratches, hundreds of tiny scratch marks in the metal. Not from rust or weather. These were fresh, like someone with small fingers had clawed at the steel over and over, trying to get out. Suddenly, a whisper behind her. She never stopped waiting. Amber spun. Nobody. The wind picked up. A distant cry floated through the air. And then, a train horn. But there were no tracks in use anymore. This line had been abandoned for decades. She looked down the rail. Nothing. But the sound grew louder. And somewhere in the pitch-black distance, she saw a single headlight. Coming fast. Amber didn't run. She didn't even breathe. That headlight kept coming. Silent, steady, glowing like a single eye in the dark. But there was no rumble, no track vibrations, no air shift, just the light. Then, as fast as it had appeared, it vanished, gone, like it had never been there at all. Amber stood shaking in the middle of the tracks, trying to make sense of what just happened. Then something brushed her arm. She turned around, flashlight trembling in her hand. There, on the side of her car. More handprints, but these weren't just on the bumper. They were everywhere, all over the window, the hood, even the windshield. Tiny, oily marks, smudged, frantic. And one print. One was not small. It was large, too large, a woman's hand, and right next to it, written faintly in the dust, she couldn't save them. The next day, Amber dug deep into old archives, school libraries, news reports, forums. She wasn't chasing a ghost story anymore. She was chasing the truth. That's when she found it. May 17th, 1938. A mother named Evelyn Morales was driving her 5 children to her sister's home. Her car stalled on the tracks. A freight train struck them minutes later. The children died instantly. Evelyn survived, but she was never seen again. Some say she walked back to the tracks every night, searching, crying, hoping to undo what had happened. Others say she died there, alone. The photos sent chills through Amber's spine, because in one grainy black and white image, Evelyn stood holding a flower, wearing a white dress. Amber showed Jesse and Tasha everything. They didn't laugh this time. We have to go back, Amber said. I think she's trying to tell us something. You think she wants help? Jesse asked. Amber hesitated. No, I think she wants to bring someone with her. They went back one last time, but this time they weren't alone. As the 3 stood near the tracks, a girl, maybe 7 or 8, appeared out of the trees. Dirty, barefoot, dressed in old-timey clothes. Amber crouched down. Hey, are you okay? The girl didn't speak. She looked behind Amber and pointed. They turned. The woman in white stood there, but this time her dress was torn, her face burned, like she had walked through fire and memory to return. She reached for the girl, and the girl ran into her arms. The woman didn't cry. She smiled. For a second. Amber thought it was over, but then the woman looked up, right at Amber, and that smile turned to something else, something hollow, something hungry. You said, yes, ChatGPT said, perfect. Now we reach the final part, pages 16 to 20 of your 20-page horror story. The Woman in White. This section wraps up the terror, delivers the twist, and leaves behind a chilling legacy. Let's finish this story with impact. Amber couldn't move. The woman's face. It was no longer human. It wasn't angry. It wasn't evil. It was empty. Like the idea of emotion had rotted away over time. Jesse grabbed Amber's arm. We have to go. The ghost clutched the little girl close, but her eyes locked onto Amber, unmoving. Then, slowly, the woman opened her mouth. From deep inside came a voice. Not hers, not even earthly. You can't save them. You never could. Now it's your turn. Suddenly, the air grew heavy. The tracks began to tremble. In the distance, the train horn again. But this time, it was closer. Real. A light. A single glowing headlight pierced the dark. Amber screamed. Move. Off the tracks. But Jesse wasn't moving. Tasha pulled at him. Go. Amber turned back to the woman and the child. They were still there, unmoving, unblinking. The train thundered past, and in the flash of its lights, they were gone. They never spoke of what happened that night. Not in detail, not even to each other. Amber left San Antonio for college just 2 weeks later. Jesse stopped sleeping near train lines. Tasha deleted every video and photo they'd ever taken on that road. But the fear never left. Because sometimes Late at night, when Amber sat alone, she'd hear it. The train, even in cities where no tracks existed. And one night, at exactly 2:17 a.m., the same time the Morales family died, she heard a knock on her dorm window, 6 floors up. She opened the curtain, expecting nothing. But there, barely visible in the glass, was the outline of a small hand, and beneath it, smeared in fog, a whisper she couldn't ignore. She never stopped waiting. Amber closed the curtain and stepped back, heart pounding. And in the darkness of her room, she swore she heard a soft cry. Not angry, not screaming, just lonely. The kind of cry that doesn't want to hurt you, just to never be alone again. If you ever drive past those old tracks outside San Antonio, don't slow down. Don't listen to the crying. Don't stop when the train horn echoes, even though the line's been dead for years. And if you see a woman in white, keep driving, because she's not looking for help. She's looking for someone to stay behind.